Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning back in. I've got a lot of work that I've been trying to get done down here in the tackle shop, and I tell you, every time I feel like I'm starting to clean it up, it just is a mess again. I mean, my boys were in here, and they thought it would be fun to bring every one of their toys in, and I just got done cleaning it all up. So not only did I not make any progress on the tackle room, I just ended up cleaning up all of their toys, which weren't messed up in the first place. So sometimes it's like the meeting place of the house and just turns into a complete mess. Anyways, enough with that. So I did a video not too long ago on the difference between single rattle and multi-rattle lipless crankbaits. And I got a really good feedback on it, and I got a lot of comments on it. And one of the consistent themes across the board with respect to the comments were, what about silent lipless crankbaits? And it's funny because when I did the video, I thought about jumping into them and talking about silent lipless crankbaits, but I didn't want to do it because I thought I would muddy up the point of that video, which was specifically when to use, like a one knocker type trap versus, say, just some other super loud lipless like a war pig. And I felt like if I added in the silent version, it would just kind of muddy the water. And I wanted to do a whole separate video on that. And since you guys were all over me on it as to when I would throw it, I thought I would, do a video sooner than later. And, the reason I didn't want to put it in there is because I view a silent lipless as almost a whole different category. To me, when I throw that versus a super loud, noisy one, is really super different. And I view them like I use them at completely different times of the year. But I'll tell you, I love them. I think they are phenomenal baits. And I really am surprised that we don't see more people talking about them or even have more companies offer them. A lot of companies will offer different rattle variations of lipless, but they still don't have a silent one. And if you go onto a tackle site like Tackle Warehouse, you'll find a handful of silent versions, but it's a relatively small amount when you look at the total number of lipless crankbaits. So it's not something that's being used super heavily, and is almost something I've kind of kept quiet to myself just because they can be so good at times. And when somebody asks you what you caught them on, if you say you caught them on a lipless, the assumption is that you caught them on one that makes noise. And so, I don't feel like I ever used to make that clarity. But since I've started this YouTube channel, I'm trying to provide a lot of helpful information. And with respect to this video, a lot of you guys asked for it. So I thought I'd come out with it and kind of just give you some background. One of my favorite lipless this is a Megabass. They have a crazy big name for it. It's the Vibration X Ultra Silent 17.4 gram. So this is one of my favorite. I mean, you can hear nothing, and then if I put like one of my other favorites, which is a war pig, I mean, it's just a totally different bait. Loud and obnoxious versus, almost a finesse style bait. So my favorite times to use a silent lipless crankbait, I've got two very specific. One, post spawn. When the fish are coming off the spawn, a lot of times they're lethargic, they're cranky, they're just not in a super aggressive mood. And I feel like you get better reaction strikes out of them with a silent bait versus one that's, loud and obnoxious and coming at them from a long ways away. I just think the fish react better to it. I think a lot of them are familiar with the noise, whether it's a one knocker or a multi-rattle chamber. And when you bring by something that's not making noise, but still has that same ability to create a reaction strike, they just turn better and will eat the silent one. So post spawn is my number one time, and my number two time is like late winter, or late fall into winter months. And I'll use it the same way that I would use a blade bait. I love chasing giant smallmouth here in the fall. One of my favorite baits is a blade bait, and a blade bait has good vibration. A good blade bait, in my opinion, will have good vibration with relatively little rod movement, and is something you can keep right there in the strike zone, because those fish are generally on the bottom. And I view a silent lipless as the exact same thing as a blade bait in the winter months. I can throw it out there, it sinks good, it maintains good bottom contact. With a small rod movement, you can get that thing to create vibration and fall back to the bottom, and it's not loud and obnoxious. Those winter fish just don't seem to want something that is just in their face. They'll a lot of times they won't even react to something that is in their face unless you make them react. And that's where the lipless comes in so good, just like a blade bait. It's on the bottom, like a dead fish just laying there, and then you give it a nice, not fast rod, just nice steady pull. Maybe bring that bait a foot, 2 feet off the bottom, let it fall back, and it'll just lay there, just like a dying shad. And that is a great way to generate bites in the late fall, winter months. I'm talking the coldest times of the year. So those are my two favorite seasons to throw a silent. I will still throw, if I'm on a good lipless bait, I will throw other variations, different rattle variations. But I find that that's the two times that work best for me. Specifically in the winter, I will usually not actually throw a different rattle variation. I try to stick just with the silent. But some other variables that I like to have if I'm fishing the silent lipless crankbait. First, I like clear water. The clearer the water, the less I want rattles. So if I'm fishing gin clear water, I almost always will go with a silent version first, just because those fish can see your bait coming from a long ways away. I almost don't even want to let them know, that bait is coming. You almost don't want to let them get a good look at it. So if they see it from 10 feet away and they hear it from 10 feet away, they're just going to keep coming, or they're going to just turn and know it's coming. You almost want to create that reaction strike. So if you can sneak it up to them, that they'll respond better to it or react better to it than if they can see it from 10 feet and hear it from 10 feet. A lot of times I think they can hear it from 30 feet away. So the clearer the water, the more I tend to go with a silent version. If I'm fishing somewhere that is a great lipless fishery, but gets just pounded by pressure, so a Gunnersville or a Rayburn, those are lakes where you can get good water quality, and those fish are so pressured by other lipless versions that the silent bait a lot of times can do really, really well and excel above and beyond rattle versions. So that's another time I love to use it. And the last really just comes down to if I'm fishing, if I'm out and I feel like the bite is off, whether we've got a high pressure day or, for whatever reason, the fish just aren't responding. A lot of these early winter months, the fish just don't want to respond, and they're not super aggressive. So they don't want to respond well to a loud rattling bait. And I found, that you can get them, you can have much, much better days with a silent version on tough fishing days. And I don't have some really great science behind that. I just feel like if you're out and you're not getting bit, when you generally would get bit, put the silent version on, and I think you'll see some better success. I'm not saying it's going to go from like 0 fish day to a 50 fish day, but it will put some fish in the boat for you. So that's what I like the silent version, guys. To me, it's like a whole separate category of bait, just because normal lipless crankbaits are all about, you know, sound and vibration and noise and just kind of these big brash baits. The silent version is, you know, just it's like the finesse version. So to me, it's a separate category. But I hope that was helpful, guys. You know, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you've got specific silent versions that you like, you know, throw it up in the comment section so other people can see it. Like I said before, there's not that many variations of the silent lipless crankbait. So if you've got one, put it up there. We might get into some other things later on about how you can take rattles out of your existing lipless crankbaits, but I'm not going to touch on that in this video. Anyways, guys, share it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I appreciate each and every one of you watching. Thanks.